Who are you thinking about for this pick, though? I almost called you Alex because your team name is thealexsmith.com.
Well, with Tyrod Taylor and Drew Brees, I definitely don't feel like I need to take Alex Smith or any quarterback right now just because I think I can get a quarterback 3 later. But just kind of looking at this running back tier, it's a whole bunch of yuck at the moment.
What do you guys think about D'Angelo Williams and his potential to maybe even play a little bit more beyond those first 4 games where Le'Veon's going to be suspended?
That's the thing with him. You have the 4 games with Le'Veon Bell, but then you also kind of worry is Le'Veon Bell going to start right away because he's kind of been nursing that injury. And we saw the Steelers have a lot of faith in D'Angelo Williams to just lead that offense. So he's definitely a really good late round 0 RB pick, especially if you wait on running back.
If D'Angelo falls, I think it's all right. But he is a 33-year-old running back. I mean, he had a great year last year, but I'm not a big fan for weeks 1 through 4 for a 33-year-old.
the age doesn't concern me so much because he spent so much time splitting carries in Carolina. Like, it's kind of like the Justin Forsett narrative where, like, he wasn't a feature back that whole time when he was younger, so he doesn't have quite the wear on his tires. I do think age matters. Like, I wouldn't expect D'Angelo Williams to, be the starter all year on any team, whether it was Pittsburgh or not. But I don't know. Like, I can talk myself into him because he was very good last year, like, even at a high age then,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for the Le'Veon owner, like, he's almost a must handcuff, I mean, he's definitely insurance. But I think only for the Le'Veon owner is where he has value.
Well, let's figure out who drafted Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
It was the Mazel Tov team.
Mazel Tov. Oh, here it comes.
So he's coming up after Sal. But Sal, who are you looking at for your next pick?
Well, you guys are kind of talking me into D'Angelo Williams right now. Just because I'm looking at like the running back and receiver tiers. Matt Jones is kind of tempting this late because he has a role as the number 1 running back in that offense. I like Corey Coleman.
Tevin Coleman?
No, Corey Coleman.
Oh, he's looking at wide receivers.
So many.
Now.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, there's so many wide receivers I like. I'm kind of
so many Colemans
on that position. But I think now is kind of like the time when you're seeing these like RB2, RB3 types go off the board. And I've kind of brought myself into that strategy of loading up on RB2 types. So I'm just going to add Matt Jones to that group. I don't really like him, but I feel this late it's a good value pick.
The tight ends are starting to creep up into the top of Yahoo's default rankings here. It's like most of the guys, if you just look at all the players who aren't QBs, if you look at the flex position, a lot of tight ends. Goes to show you can wait at the position.
I like that Matt Jones pick, Sal. It seems like he could be this year's Latavius Murray. I mean, they have no other running backs there in Washington. I mean, just volume alone. I mean, he might only average 3.5 yards a carry, but he'll still probably get over 1,000 yards.
I mean, he does have the volume in his favor. He also had a little bit of success in the receiving game last year, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
19 catches. But, I mean, it's not the greatest. Really, it's not a whole lot. I must have been thinking of somebody else.
Well, they had with Alfred Morris like eating up a lot of the time.
I mean, you just look at that running back depth chart in Washington, and it's like, okay, it's going to be the situation where they probably just have to force feed him the ball when they're not passing.
Exactly. I like Chris Thompson like way late in like that full PPR leagues, but it seems like people are hating on Matt Jones a little too much.
I mean, I just wanted to go back quickly to the Derek Carr thing just because I had it brought up on my screen. And I was just looking at his schedule. They have a bye in Week 10, the Raiders do. And they start off the season with matchups against New Orleans, Atlanta, Tennessee, Baltimore, San Diego, Kansas City, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay. Like, there's a chance Carr could repeat the start of his first half of 2015 season pretty easily based on that schedule.
Yeah, maybe I should have drafted him instead of Jameis.
And the nice thing, too, I remember Bobby Korecki, who wrote an article about Carr on our site, mentioned, like, the Denver Broncos are the toughest defense he's going to face, but one of the 2 matchups is in Week 17, which is nice.
I'll take Travis Benjamin. I mean,
Travis Benjamin and Tavon Austin back-to-back.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, Phil Rivers throws the ball, like, 600 times a year? Or if not 700?
You just got, like, the light blue monopoly.
I do. I will take that first row, damn it.
Yeah, the first row monopoly.
But they're so cheap to build the hotels.
Oh, man. I'm starting to think about maybe taking another quarterback here. I'm a little worried that the run is going to come, but I really do have to fight back against that. Where even still, like as a person who has become a proponent of late round QB, like I still get that fear, that oh I might miss out. What if I don't get Ryan Fitzpatrick? What if I have to take Alex Smith or Jay Cutler? Like, does that still happen to you guys when you're drafting in 2QB leagues?
I mean, it kind of happens to me when I'm looking at the mid round and based on who's left, because I'm trying to like look a step forward at who might be taken with the like next pick or so. But I've kind of like trained myself like a dog to just remember there's just so many quarterbacks available. Like,
right. Because guys like Bridgewater and RG3 are available much later. Like, I would rather have either Bridgewater or RG3 over Cutler, even.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this particular draft, only one team doesn't have 2 quarterbacks.
I just pulled up my own running back rankings to see if I overdrafted D'Angelo Williams, and it turns out that I did.
Good job.
Nice. Good job by me. Well, not in terms of ADP, but there are other available guys who I have ranked higher. Like Ajayi, Yeldon. I think is Abdullah still available?
I know Ajayi.
Abdullah's gone.
Okay, and then it looks like every team with Joe Flacco now has 2 quarterbacks.
And TJ Yeldon is really down there in like ranks.
Yeah, I don't understand why people hate him so much. Like he's coming into his second year. I understand they signed Ivory, and that sucks for his value to some extent, but. Like, couldn't Yeldon just be the Giovanni Bernard of that team?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's their plan for sure. I mean, in PPR leagues, I like Yeldon more than Ivory even. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. He's a second-round pick out of Alabama. I mean, he's pretty good. Catch the ball. I mean, people seem to think that he's not a good, like a touchdown maker. I mean, he's not too bad.
I'm looking at Kamar Aiken at the top of the wide receiver rankings here for Yahoo. What is your guys, or Sal, let's start with you. What is your take on Baltimore's receivers?
I kind of think that they might all eat into each other if they're all healthy, but that's the concern. Is Steve Smith and Rashard Perriman going to be there week 1? We saw what Kamar Aiken did at the end of last year when he got his chance. So I kind of bumped him up to the top of the Baltimore receivers that I'm targeting, because I think he could be a steady wide receiver too. I mean, in general, just more reason to draft Joe Flacco if they're all healthy, especially when you add in those tight ends and the running backs that can catch the ball.
What do you think, Jeff?
Oh, about Kamar Aiken? I like him a lot. He's very solid. I mean, it seems like for any Baltimore wide receiver, you got to go for him. And with Trestman, I think on average, he was top 3 in passing percentage, like the amount of times that they passed. I mean, he's good. I like Mike Wallace a lot too. I'm staying away from Steve Smith, but Kamar Aiken's great. He's very good value. Anywhere past 100 for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Funchess. I'm looking at, I mean, probably another position, probably a quarterback, if not one of those 2 wide receivers. I guess I could take another running back, but I feel pretty solid with the guys I've got. Like Ingram, David Johnson as my primary guys, Gio and D'Angelo Williams as kind of the upside handcuffy types. This is kind of a tough pick for me. I don't feel really good about any particular direction.
I mean, just going back to that Baltimore thing, if everybody in that offense is healthy, which is a big, big if, Joe Flacco could potentially have an offense where he's throwing to Kamar Aiken, Mike Wallace, Steve Smith, Rashard Perriman, those tight ends. Dan Waller had a big preseason game, but yeah, Watson, Pitta is healthy. Buck Allen,
Max Williams, and they have like 7 running backs.
Right, and they added a first-round offensive lineman.
Oh, right.
Well, I made the Funchess pick. I think the way I've set this team up feels really balanced. Like I'd rather shoot for the stars with Funchess. Like he has a little bit more of a pedigree than someone like Kamar Aiken, and that's the big differentiator for me at this point. Is I just want the upside. Let's take another quick break, and we'll jump back in a minute.
Yeah. All right, we're back. Sal, you're coming up here soon. We've seen a few picks go by. Who are you looking at here, though?
Yeah, I was just looking at the tight end tier, and I just thought I would grab Antonio Gates just I feel like he has that floor, just touchdowns this year where he makes for a solid tight end. We're going to get kind of at the end of the draft where I feel like I bypassed that position, so I want to get like 2 or 3 guys so just for depth. So I wanted to kind of get Gates before anybody else took him. No, he was my last pick. I just made So I just I'm going to start building my tight end by committee tier, and he was just the guy that kind of stood out to me based on who was available.
And then you got the jumbo set, another tight end.
I'm thinking about tight end too.
Yeah, I want to add one more to that stable, but I think the guys that I like are going to be available much later, and there's a few that I think will be on the board, but I've kind of figured Gates and Allen are, if you look at who was available, kind of at the top, especially based because of Tyler Eifert's injury, Ladarius Green, and we don't know how Gary Barnidge is going to play with RG3.
I'm looking at Martellus Bennett to handcuff to Gronk. It's like really the only time I've ever heard of handcuffing a team's tight end. But I think this year specifically, and specifically Gronk and Martellus, I think it's the only time it's a viable strategy.
I think as long as Gronk's health is at all a question, I think it's a fine strategy. But I don't know if I
like
otherwise.
Martellus. I think he could be like Aaron Hernandez a couple years ago. Remember, he was like a top 5 or top 6 tight end, and Gronk was still top 2. I think the Patriots offense could make 2 tight ends work, especially if that report is true that they're both going to be on the field for 80% of the plays. Martellus could be great. I looked at, he's taller than Gronk. I didn't even know that. I was watching the preseason game the other day. It's like an inch taller. It's pretty crazy. So a lot of touchdowns.
We've seen some evidence that my fear in the last couple picks was completely unfounded. We haven't seen a quarterback taken in quite some time through this whole round, in fact, or like round and a half. It might be the same guys available when it makes it back to me, although I kind of doubt that'll be the case. I have a feeling someone here is going to take
Joe Flacco
QB.
at the end of the 11th round was the last quarterback taken.
Okay. And, I mean, most of the people drafting in front of me only have 2.
There's still a few good options left.
Yeah, they're starting to get a little thin, but 1, 2.
But if you're okay with Griffin or Bridgewater, you don't have to pick one right now.
I'd be okay not even having a backup. Just dealing with it in mid-season.
Oh, man. Right after you picked Bennett, someone took Tyler Eifert, and that was the pick I was hoping to make this round. I think that's a screaming value. Like, we know he's going to miss some time, but how much time is he going to miss? Like, give me 12 weeks of Tyler Eifert, please. I want that on my team.
So basically, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, sorry. That injury was pretty bad for Eifert. I mean, I understand where you're coming from right there, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Eifert.
Well, when I already have a tight end, like, I love getting him here. If I have Kelsey on my team already, like, there's nowhere for Eifert to go but
up. Having Kelsey already, I agree. He had, 14 touchdowns? Sorry, Sal. My bad.
I was just saying, we know Greg's strategist draft guys who are going to miss the first 4 weeks.
That's my game plan. That's how I really am so, like, I am not risk averse at all when it comes to injuries and suspensions. Like, I always feel fine coming up with a plan on a weekly basis to, like, make a roster that works, to the point where, like, I don't really want to think about, the entire season with each pick I make. Like, I kind of want to think about, like, okay, I know I'm going to use this player, a certain percentage of the time, and think about it that way.